Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future home buyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of home ownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC. DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. Lo-Fi Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent. License lender. Broker number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License number MC 338923. Rhode Island License Lender. License number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Jones on first down, wide open, it's Barkley, and Saquon Barkley will take it into the end zone.
Your best ability is his availability. Saquon Barkley, he's great when he's on the field, but the problem is since 2018, he hasn't been healthy for this team.
Look at this, they lob it to him, he taps it in off the glass. How about that?
Porter Moser, I think right now is the best coach in college basketball, hands down.
Vince 2 for 3, he's done his part.
Pitch is drilled to deep right field toward the pole, and it is gone.
They don't mind not being what they were in the 90s as the best organization in baseball, because the Yankees aren't even close to the best organization in baseball.
You're trying to be the Rays, and the Rays do this for a reason. Like, you're the Yankees.
Welcome to Sports Talk with RJ. I'm Steve Risser along with Justin D'Onofrio, and opening day is tomorrow. So we are doing our annual MLB season preview, and we're going to start with the Yankees. We're starting the AL East, and we're going to start with the team that's playing at 1 o'clock tomorrow. That is the New York Yankees. So we're going to start with the Yankees, and for me, my expectation for the Yankees is I think this team is definitely a playoff team. I think this is definitely a playoff team. I think this is a team that is good offensively with Aaron Judge, with Giancarlo Stanton, with Anthony Rizzo, with the new addition of Anthony Volpe starting instead of kind of Falefa, which I'm very, very happy about, and with Gleyber Torres. I think this team is good offensively. The question marks, though, are the injuries in the rotation. Rondon being out for the first month of the season. Severino being out for the first week of the season. They do have Cortez back, which is good. And then Garrett Cole, who wasn't great last year, but he's solid. He's been solid. Is a solid ace for the Yankees. So I do think the Yankees I don't think they win the division. I think they get to the playoffs, but I don't think they win the division this year. I think the biggest reason why is the bullpen concerns me a little bit. Clay Holmes was really good at the start. Was really good in June and July, but he tailed off in August, and he did blow that save against the Guardians. And I don't know if there's a ton of depth behind him. I mean, I like Michael King, but I don't know if there's a ton of depth behind him. So with the rotation, with the injuries to the rotation and the bullpen, I'm picking the Yankees to finish in second in the AL East, getting a wild card though.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like Toronto in that division. Yeah, the Yankees again. It's for me. It's like, again, I'm very happy Volpe made the roster. I was surprised he did. I feared they were gonna go with IKF, just because it's the Yankees, and for whatever reason, all these teams want to keep their guys down one extra year for the service time and all that, which is ridiculous. But anyways, with the Yankees, yeah, I think they're saying Blake Seam. I worry about the depth right now. And again, like out in this lineup, you're not going to get what Judge had last year. There's just no way he's going to replicate that. Who else in that lineup is going to pick up some slack? I hope DJ. Can you really count? It's tough to count on Stanton. I'm done with Josh Donaldson. He stinks. He's a shell of himself. Could you really bet Anthony Volpe to be like a huge contributor right in year one? That's a tough ask. Like who else in this lineup? Bader's hurt for the first couple weeks of the year. Like, I don't like who else in this lineup is really going to pick up some slack, I feel like. And I think that's kind of going to hurt. Yeah, the rotation right now being banged up hurts a bit as well. So, look, it's I have them as a wild card team, but the expectation to get the playoffs, even though the Yankees tell us every year, they still want to win the World Series, and that's the goal. But I don't think this team I don't think this team's beating Houston at all yet again. So, yeah, I think it's a playoff team, and be nice to finally knock off Houston, but I don't see that happening.
Now, the big question is, what do the Yankees have to do to have a successful season? I do think, even though I don't have them winning the division, I do think they have to get to a World Series. Now, if they get to a World Series, it's a successful season. I don't want to hear about World Series or bust. That's nonsense. This franchise has not been to the World Series since 2009. If they get to the World Series, it's a successful season. I don't care if they get swept. They get to the World Series, it's a successful season.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if they beat Houston in the LCS or in the LDS. If they beat Houston, yeah, I think it's a successful season.
They get over that hump.
Yeah.
If you're going to say, okay, they get over the hump against Houston and losing like 5 games to the Padres, you're going to consider that a disappointment? That's terrible. That's nonsense.
Yeah, like that'll be fine. It'll be just nice to get back to a World Series. It's been way too long for this franchise. A lot more paired in the sport, which is great. But yes, this franchise got to get back there desperately. And yeah, I think if they get to a World Series, that'd be great. And if it's beating Houston along the way, yeah, they're finally getting over that hump. I think it's a great thing for moving forward for next season. So yeah, I'm with you. If they can get to a final or a World Series, I'm fine with it. And yeah, that's a good season for the Yankees.
Absolutely. And I think the way they're going to get there is they need the starters to be good. They need everyone to be good in the rotation. They need, obviously, Cole. I think Cole needs to be even better than he was last year. They need Sevy to be improved. They need Sevy to be good too. They need Rondon to work out, and they need another good year out of Cortez. And the lineup's got to be really good again. Even though you can't duplicate that from Judge, I think Volpe's going to step up and be really, really good in this lineup. And they need the bullpen to be good. That's going to be a big question mark, is that bullpen. That bullpen's going to be a question mark because of the lack of depth in it. And do we trust Clay Holmes as the closer? I do. I think he had a good year last year, even though he struggled at times. But that's going to be the big question. Do we trust Clay Holmes as the closer of this team?
Yeah, that's a big question. For the back end of that bullpen will be tough. Yeah. I know you mentioned earlier about Michael King. Yeah, he was awesome last year. And they really missed when he went out last year. It's going to be great to have him back and probably to be the setup man in the 8th inning, maybe 7th inning, wherever they throw him, to be awesome to have him back. But yeah, Holmes, yeah, I still do believe in Holmes that he can kind of be that 9th inning closer, lockdown guy. Yeah, but like I think every reliever at some point has a little couple weeks where they kind of just lose it for a bit. Like I don't think that's out of the ordinary. So yeah, I still have trust in Clay Holmes. Hopefully he kind of figured some things out in the offseason, and he can be the guy that he was, in the first half of last year, where again he was pretty much unhittable. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, yep. So yeah, for me, I think they have to get to a World Series for it to be successful. And I think for Aaron Boone, probably you got to be back in the ALCS. I think that's the key for Aaron Boone. Even though we don't think they're going to win the division, they don't need to win the division to get to a World Series or an ALCS. I think for Aaron Boone, they got to get back to the ALCS, or this is it for him.
Yeah, I know they love Boone. And I think he's got 2 years left after this year, I think, on the contract. I think they gave him another 4-year extension, maybe a 3 or 4 year extension. So yeah, but I'm with you. I think they finally got to get over this hump eventually, the ALCS. Like they can't just keep getting there, keep getting eliminated, kind of keep just trying to do the same thing over and over and over again. So yeah, at some point, yeah, I think for Boone, he's got to finally, figure out a way to get this team over the hump and knock off Houston. Because again, the fan base is, the fan base and organization are kind of, again, they, want to get back there. And, yeah, again, it just kind of, I don't know if, would it be another, I guess it kind of would be another setback if you lose yet again in Houston. Like it just would, like at some point you gotta beat them at some point.
Yeah, you get tired of it. Like the Red Sox, like from like 98 to 2003, had a lot of good years where they finished in second, but they just got so tired of losing to the Yankees. Kind of a similar situation with the Yankees, where it's so tiring continuing to lose to the Astros.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially you get swept, and really most of those games, it was just like Houston was flat out better team, and it showed. And yeah, like at some point, yeah, you got to get over the hump. The fan base wants to get over the hump. The organization wants to finally get another crack at the World Series. So yeah, at some point you got to start trying to do something else. And yeah, if they lose yet again the LCS to Houston, it's like there definitely needs to be some change, some way. I know, again, Cashman's not going anywhere. Boone would be, you'd think, the next kind of logical.
Boone would be the next guy.
puppet.
Boone would be the next guy if this team is a disappointing season, or if they don't get past Houston. Boone would be the guy.
Yeah, absolutely, and I do agree with you. Yeah, like at some point you gotta, again, the fan base, especially if they lose to Houston again, the fan base is gonna be looking for somebody to get, they're heading, they want somebody to get fired, and Boone would probably be the logical answer.
Absolutely. So we'll move on to the team that we think is going to win the division. That's the Toronto Blue Jays. I really like their offense with Springer, with Bichette, with Vlad. They got a bat from the Diamondbacks. They got Matt Chapman, so I really like their offense. And here's the key. This is why I think they're going to win the division. I really like their starting pitching too. I think Gausman and Manoah's great. I like Gausman. I think a big move for this team was adding Chris Bassett, a right-handed pitcher, and the Yankees, a very righty-heavy lineup. Very, very good move for the Blue Jays going out and getting Chris Bassett. And their bullpen, I think, is a little bit deeper than the Yankees. And I think they got a better closer than the Yankees in Jordan Romano. So I like the Toronto Blue Jays to win the AL East this year.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like the Blue Jays as well. I love bringing on Don Mattingly as your bench coach because I feel like that's what a lot of those young guys need. Somebody that's kind of been there. Somebody I think a lot of the guys probably respect. Because that Blue Jays team just last year was a good team. I know they got to the playoffs, but
they fired their manager in the middle of the season.
Yeah, they did. Because they were kind of struggling. The expectations were kind of higher for them last year, and they thought they could make a run. It didn't. So I think bringing Mattingly helps. Yeah, I thought bringing Kevin Kiermaier too to help the defense out in the outfield's huge. Yeah, I like the pickup of Chris Bassett. They hopefully Jose Barrios can kind of get back to what he was in Minnesota. That'd be great. And Alex Manoah looks like one of the best starters in all of baseball right now. So. Yeah, I love this Blue Jays team, and I think they got a chance to make a World Series run here.
Absolutely. The playoffs are going to be key for the Blue Jays. Last year, they got in and lost both games to the Mariners, but it's going to be key to win that division because, as you learned from last year, you don't want to get into that play-in. So it's going to be very, very key for either the Yankees or Blue Jays to win that division.
Yeah, it absolutely will. You got to, you got to, 2 out of 3 games, you're going to have to burn a couple of your starters, and they kind of put you in a disadvantage when you go in the LDS. So, yeah, absolutely. It's crucial to get that the top spot in your division.
Absolutely. So we'll talk about the Rays now, and I think the Rays finishing third in the division. There's some things I like about the Rays. I like their top 2 starters with McClanahan and Rasmussen. Their offense is a question mark in terms of those guys staying healthy. If Lowe and if Franco could have a breakout year and Lowe has the year he had in 2021, I think this team could contend for a World Series. That's going to be the big key. If their offense is really good, they can contend for a World Series. And so if their offense is good, they definitely can contend get back to the World Series like they did in 2020. And then their bullpen, I like their bullpen, but the issue with their bullpen is they don't have a true closer. And that's the reason why I don't think this team's going to make the playoffs. I think this team's going to be very close to making the playoffs. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think it's going to be because of them not having a true closer. I think it's because their offense is inconsistent, and they're going to have Tyler Glasnow at the first 2 months, and that's going to hurt. That's going to hurt that rotation a little bit. So that's why I think the Rays finish in third, but I don't think they make the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have them just missing out of the playoffs. I think if that pitching staff can stay healthy, they got a chance. But missing Glasnow for the first couple months is going to hurt. McClanahan looked like he could win the MVP the Cy Young till September when he had some arm issues. So. Zach Eflin's a decent starter. Like, they just need guys to give him some length. I think, they just overtax that bullpen at times. And, the Rays are always going to be right there, one of the best yards in the game. But, the offense is just way too inconsistent. There's way too many strikeouts out of that lineup. And I think that's the big problem with the Rays. And, Kevin Cash is a great manager. I just think this division is a little bit too tough, even though it'll be interesting now with you playing everybody that you don't have to play this division 18 times that, it's going to help out this division, I think, a lot, but it's still, I think it'll still be tough for a team like the Rays because, they every year there's so many injuries it feels like they have to deal with.
Absolutely. Now we'll move on to the surprise team in baseball last year, and that's the Orioles. And I still think this is going to be a good team this year. I think they're going to be a good team. I think this lineup is going to be. I think this lineup can be really good this year. I like I think Rushman and Henderson, I think they're going to have really good years. I think Mullins should have a bounce back year, and Santander and Mountcastle, those were their two best hitters. The big concern with the Orioles is their lack of depth in the rotation. I think that's what's going to keep them out of the playoffs. They really didn't improve the rotation. They don't have a ton of depth outside of Kramer. They don't have a ton of depth in that rotation, so I think that's really going to hurt the Orioles. And their bullpen is good. Batista's a really good closer, but they did lose Lopez. They traded him at the trade deadline to the Twins, so I don't think their bullpen will be as good. So with their bullpen not being as good, their lack of depth in the rotation, I think it'll be a better team offensively because I think Henderson and Rushman could have breakout years. But I got the Orioles finishing in fourth. I think they win more games than they lose, but I don't think they make the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think team's going to finish right around 500. I think there's some, kind of for this Orioles team where their owner talked about talked about in the winter, we overachieved, and I don't think it was right to spend the money. I think for those players, I think they want to kind of prove them wrong that last year.
Yeah, that's not the way you should be running business. Oh, we overachieved, so we don't need to spend the money. Come on, you got to learn. You got to compete. You got a team that's ready to compete. Go out and spend the money.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, but that's wrong with Major League Baseball for some of these owners. It's
exactly
not right,
Yeah, and we're going to get to some of these teams.
Oh.
Some of these teams have no chance. Yeah. That's what's wrong with baseball.
Yeah, like some of these teams that just have AAA teams running out there and they don't care. But yeah, for the O's, they made a lot of progress last year. It's great to see. Gunnar Henderson looks, he played well when he came up for the month of September. Adley Rutschman looked as good as advertised. I know they were hoping Grayson Rodriguez was going to make the team, and he struggled at spring training. You're going to see him at some point. He's their kind of big top prospect. They're after Henderson. Dale Hall's another starter that they're kind of hoping at some point will get the call up. He's another high prospector, that they think he'll crack the rotation at some point. Yeah, because right now it's Kyle Gibson, your ace, and that's not a recipe. That's not a guy that's going to get you 15, 20 wins. That's just not. And I think that's going to be the big kind of problem for them. Again, I could see him contend for the wild card. It'd be great to see them get in. I just think that it's too tough in this division of a hill to climb right now. They're close, but again, I think they're knocking the door, but just, maybe next year for them.
Now we move on to the Red Sox, who I think are going to be the worst team in the American Leagues. But you talked about how, this schedule is going to benefit them. This schedule could potentially benefit the Red Sox because they're not going to be playing all these teams in the East. So they might be able to get to, 78, 80 wins, but that's not enough to make the playoffs. And I think this should be the last year where Chaim Bloom is the general manager. I think he should be fired after this season because he has done a very poor job putting this team together. It all started in 2020 when he refused to pay Mookie Betts. And if you're going to refuse to pay Betts, improve the rotation. And you look at the rotation now. Corey Kluber, Chris Sale, who can't stay healthy, and James Paxton. It'd be a good rotation in 2017, but we're not playing in 2017. We're playing in 2023. I think the bullpen has improved a little bit. I think offensively, we'll see if this Yoshida guy pans out. We'll see Turner. He's not as good as he used to be. We know Devers is a stud. Verdugo's average. So offensively, I think they'll be decent. I think the bullpen will be a little bit better, but the problem is I don't know if this bullpen is going to have a chance with Kenley Jansen because this rotation could be absolutely pathetic. And that's what really going to – and I think that's the reason this Red Sox team is going to be in the basement for the second year in a row. And I think this should be the last year of Chaim Bloom as the general manager.
Yeah, he's probably the most hated man in Boston, and he has been for a while.
Oh, he's ahead of Bill Belichick right now after the comments Belichick made?
Actually, that's the comments Belichick made, and it may be close. He may be back at second. It's very close right now. They're not again. Even Barnes on the way out kind of called it. He's like, "Hey, nobody cares about how many AAA championships you won. About building, about the farm, about trading everybody to go get chips.
Let's build the farm system. Do you know you're playing in a big market? You're not in Tampa. You're in Boston. You're in a big market. Look at what Dave Dombrowski did. He went out and he went out and traded for Chris Sale. He went out and signed David Price. He made moves to make that team better, and ultimately he built a championship team, which you're now destroying.
Yeah, I think there's three guys left. I think it's just Devers, Sales, and Ryan Brazier. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Like, again, that was only 5 years ago. It's not that they tore that thing apart pretty quickly. And Sale, I know he hasn't been stayed healthy, but his fastball's been up in the mid 90s this spring. Again, he's been really hard on himself, and he's like, I kind of owe it to this franchise to kind of be out there and to the fans that, they paid me a lot of money. He's been really frustrated about it. Again, if he could stay healthy, it'd be huge. Corey's going to have him go Saturday instead of opening day, just so let him kind of take it all in again, not to put too much pressure on him to go out there opening day and kind of look like the old Chris Sale. But look, Brian Balow, he was a guy in September to 1.65 ERA. He's a guy that they're going to be looking to kind of maybe be one of the pieces towards the get back into that rotation. So, for the Red Sox, again, they paid Devers, but the Mookie's, the way Bogarts left and all that. And now the no Trevor Story prior to July, and he probably could have got the surgery earlier. He kind of just, they didn't want to do it.
Yeah, so. He's the guy they signed because they didn't want to pay Bogarts. That makes no sense. Now he's not playing until July.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know some of the moves, Heimblum's been making, and it's not well like the Boston, because Don Sweeney was up there, the Bruins GM, but the way this season they've been, they're they love him again. They're calling for his job.
And I think they're always going to love Brad Stevens.
Oh yeah. They will for the job that he's done with that organization since he kind of decided to go to the front office. So look, the Red Sox, I think it'll be 5th place. I think it'll be a tough year for them, but I could see them hovering right around 500. But this would be like their 5th, last place finish in like a decade or something like that.
I think so. Yeah.
It's not what it's been feast or famine for them, but you would like as a fan. I feel like I know they've gotten with some World Series out of it, but I think if you ask them, they like a little bit more consistency out of that organization.
Absolutely. And the question we're going to ask is, and I think we've already pretty much talked about this, do the Sox have to make the playoffs for Bloom to save his job? And absolutely. I think if they don't make the playoffs, Chaim Bloom should be fired. Chaim Bloom, if Chaim Bloom stays on as the GM, if they don't make the play, they have another bad year. Say they win like 70 to 75 games, and Chaim Bloom stays on as the GM. If I'm Alex Cora, I'm looking for another job because I'm not working another year with this general manager.
Yeah, Cora, because Cora's one of the best, but they Heim's not really helped them out a lot, and Heim's I think he'd be in a lot of trouble if they don't make the playoffs again. It'll be interesting in August, September how that ballpark's gonna, how the attendance is. Well, even at the beginning of the year with the Celtics and Bruins when they start their playoff run.
Oh, there's gonna be nobody watching Red Sox games. There's gonna be nobody watching Red Sox games from April to June because you're assuming the Bruins are going to make it to the Cup final the way they're playing, and the Celtics could very easily get to the conference final. There's going to be nobody paying attention to this team in the first 2 months of the season, and rightfully so because this GM has done a very poor job putting this team together. Yeah,
there's not a ton of excitement. Again, it's great you signed Devers back, but I think everybody thought you could get Bogarts too, and both of them, have them both here, and it would help out a little bit. So, yeah, I'm with you. I just don't think there's not a ton of excitement. I feel like they're talking, they're not really talking about it. It's all kind of Celtics and Bruins and
Patriots.
Still the Patriots. Yeah,
yes.
There's not a ton of Red Sox stuff going on out there right now. So there's not much excitement. I think you're Henry and the other one, I forget the other, but I think you gotta can him. I just I think you're gonna have to fire him.
Absolutely. So it looks like the Red Sox are going to be in for a long year, but we got to go move on to the AL Central. And first we'll talk about the Twins. And I like this Twins team going into the season. I like the move trading for Pablo Lopez. I think that Correa is definitely going to have a better year. He's already adjusted. Year one was his adjustment year. I think he's going to have a better year. He got a new contract from the Twins, so I think he's got security now. So I think he's going to have a better year. They got to hope Byron Buxton stays healthy. But if he does, I think the Twins have a very, very good chance to win this division. I think they got a good bullpen. I think they got a good rotation, too, with Gray, with Ryan, and with Lopez. And I think the Twins win the division. I think it's close between the Twins and the Guardians, but I think the Twins win the division this year. I got them winning the AL Central.
I actually disagree. I got Twins finishing 3rd.
Wow.
I know they were there to the end. They absolutely collapsed in the month of September. I kind of I can't go wrong with Cleveland, and I think the White Sox can be better. I think I like the White Sox talent a little bit better than I do the Twins. I think it's going to help that Gallo with the shift no more. I think it's going to help out Joey Gallo.
Oh, you're buying Joey Gallo. You're buying Joey Gallo going into the year?
I think it could help without the shift. I think that may help him out a little bit. We'll see, but I think it could. Again, he's feast of fame, and I just worry about Buxton. I know they're going to try him at DH to try to keep him healthy, but I just, time will tell. Correa, I think he'll have a better year. I do like the rotation, the bullpen. That's where they really fell apart, was that bullpen in the month of September. They just couldn't find ways to get outs. And, I think it could be another problem for him again this year. I just think the Central, like I think those top three with Cleveland and Chicago as well are right there. I just put the Twins at third. I could easily see him finishing first. Like I think one through three in that division is very interchangeable. But I got the Twins finishing third.
Yeah, I got them winning because I like the upgrade to the rotation, and I think they're the best offensive team out of the three. They're the offense I trust the most with Correa and Buxton in that lineup. I trust that offense the most. But we got to get to the Guardians, who were close to beating the Yankees last year in the first round. Lost. They had a 2-1 lead that ended up losing in 5 games. And I think this team gets close to the postseason, but I don't think they make it. I do like the rotation of Bieber, McKenzie, Quantrill, and Savelli. Offensively, they did add Bell. I mean, we all know Jose Ramirez is a stud. But I think the big issue with the Guardians is that depth of that lineup. I don't think that lineup is as good as the Twins, and I don't think it's as good as the White Sox. I like the bullpen in the rotation. I think that's the best, but I think the lineup is what's going to hold the Guardians back and why they're not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I get the Cleveland at first. I could see them missing on the playoffs. I think for them, with the new kind of bases and all that and the stealing, like I think they're going to see a lot of bases. I think they're going to play small ball, and I think that fits what they want to do, you know. Oscar Gonzalez, I think they're hoping for another kind of, good year. He just ended, at 298 last year. Like, I think they're hoping he can get over 300. Josh Bell provides some pop to that lineup. And again, I like their 8th, 9th inning guys with Emmanuel Clase and James Karnacek. I think those two guys are locked down. I think that rotation, if they could stay healthy, I think Zach Plesac, we've seen better from him. I think he can. Even Savali's pitched a little, I think could pitch a little bit better, which would be huge for him. I can't go wrong with a team either that's managed by Tito. I just can't, and I think Cleveland finds a way to win that division.
Yeah, we'll see. But we'll move on and talk about the White Sox. And I think the White Sox, I think they'll be decent. I think they'll be around 500. But I think the issues with the White Sox, I do like the rotation with Cease and Lance Lynn. Their bullpen is decent with Graveman. But I think the issue with the White Sox is losing Jose Abreu and Eloy Jimenez and Tim Anderson stay healthy. They didn't last year. I don't know if I could trust them to stay healthy. That's why I got this team maybe a little bit better than last year, but finishing in third in the AL Central.
Yeah, I get him second. I like Dylan Cease. He had an amazing year last year. Lance Lynn's still pitching pretty well at his age. Giolito, he had a really rough year, but I think it's a team that could compete. I do like that lineup still. Kim Mercado, Mercado kind of figure it out. I like that they brought in Andrew Benintendi. If some of those younger guys, because they just had so many injuries last year, I think it really affected them. They were very up and down. Don't think, them and Tony La Russa in that clubhouse just didn't fit. And I think a new voice in that clubhouse really is going to help this White Sox team. I think they find a way to finish second in that division, but I don't think they'll get a wild card spot. I think they'll just miss out.
Now, wrapping up the rest of the AL Central, the Tigers, they could be better, obviously, if Meadows and Baez have better years, but I just don't think there's enough around those guys. I don't really like their pitching that much, so I think they're not going to be a contender. I think they finish 4th or 5th, and the same thing with the Royals. I like Bobby Witt Jr. I like Singer as one of their starting pitchers, and obviously I always like Salvi Perez, but again, I don't think there's enough on that team. I think the Tigers and Royals are clearly going to finish 4th and 5th.
Yeah, I get those two as well. I like Adrian Hinch as a manager. Well, he's a good manager, but yeah, Javi Baez was awful last year. He had a rough one. They didn't really sign anybody too, like Spencer Torkelson. They were hoping they called him up, I think, a little bit too early than they wanted to, and he really struggled. So hopefully he can get some confidence back. They'll have Erod back, but yeah, I think Tigers finished 4th, and the Royals. I think they're building this thing like they did a couple years ago when they won the World Series. Like I like that young pitching staff. I think they have some talent. They just didn't figure it out. Totally, Brady Singer looks really good. I think having Greinke in that locker room is going to help a lot of those younger pitching staff. Maybe try to figure some things out. They brought in their manager is a Rays guy. I think that could help the pitching side of things. But yeah, I like the young lineup that they got. But maybe a year away for the Royals, and maybe they kind of start to maybe get next year like around 75, 80 maybe. But I still think they're a year away.
We'll move on to the AL West. We got to start with the best team in that division and the best team in all of baseball. That's the Houston Astros. And I know they're going to have McCullers out for a while, and I know they're going to have Altuve out for a while. But when you have 6 other good hitters, when you have Bregman, you have Alvarez, when you have Tucker, when you have Pena, when you have Brantley, and pitching wise, when you have Valdez, Javier, and Garcia and Urquidy, you could afford losing McCullers. You could afford seeing Verlander go. You could afford having Altuve out. And when you've been to the World Series for the last 6 years, you get the benefit of the doubt. The Astros, to me, are clearly the best team in the American League. And I know the Mariners are going to be good. I know the Angels have gotten and Rangers have gotten better, but I still think the Astros are clearly the best team in the American League West.
Yeah, I'm with you. I got them as well. The injuries have been piling up, but yeah, there's a lot of depth to that team. That rotation, when all healthy, there's not many holes to that lineup at all. And I think that's huge, and the pitching staff, again, like a guy like Hunter Brown that they're really high on. I believe he's one of their higher prospects. I know he's may miss some time early on, but he's a guy that they're really high on, kind of contributing to this team as well. So yeah, the Astros have guys that can kind of fill out pieces. Kyle Tucker had a breakout year, and I expect him to kind of put up the same numbers he did last year. Brantley missed some, was going to miss some time, but he missed a lot last year. But again, when he's in there, he's one of the best hitters in baseball. At his age, maybe there's a bit of a decline, but he's still a guy that could get on base a lot. I'm with you. I think the Astros, again, they got everything that they have. They have everything that they need to repeat as World Series champion.
Absolutely. Moving on to the Mariners, who made the playoffs last year and got swept by the Astros in the playoffs. They almost won. That game one, and then they completely fell apart in that series. But looking at this Mariners team, I like this lineup. I really think this lineup is going to score some runs with Julio Rodriguez, Ty France, and Eugenio Suarez. They got Teoscar Hernandez. They got one of the best catchers in baseball in Cal Raleigh. If Jarred Kelenic could even step up like he was expected to, I think this Mariners offense is going to be good. Pitching-wise, you're going to have Castillo the whole year. You're going to have Robbie Ray, and you're going to have Logan Gilbert. I think they're good in the rotation. The issue is the bullpen. That's what hurt them in that series against the Astros. Because they were up 7-3 in game one, and they blew that game, and that set the tone for that entire series. I think that this bullpen's a question mark, but I do think the Mariners get a wild card spot, and I do think they return to the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm with you. I got to finish the second. I think, they do get a wild card spot. Yeah, Rodriguez is the guy that I think could contend for the MVP this year. Teoscar Hernandez is nice, upgrading the outfield. Yeah, and George Kirby, Logan Gilbert, they both said at the end of the year, like they just ran out of gas, and because they kind of, part of their kind of struggles there. Luis Castillo has been an awesome acquisition for him. Maybe they get out to a fast start, they can kind of overtake the Astros, get out in front of that division, and maybe kind of, find a way to win it. I could see it, but they got it. It's be important to get out that fast start. But yeah, and Kelenic too. He had a really good spring. He batted .367. He only had 13 strikeouts. Maybe he's turned a corner. I know it's been a rough couple of years for him, but maybe he's finally has figured it out. And yeah, if he could, that Mariners team is loaded.
Looking at the Angels, I think this is the best team the Angels have had since 2014. I'm high on the Angels this year. I like, because of some of their additions. I like getting Tyler Anderson from the Dodgers. I like that addition. I also like getting Gio Urshela. We all know him as Yankee fans. And I like getting Hunter Renfroe. He's going to add some power to that lineup. This lineup is going to be better. This rotation is going to be better. The bullpen is average. That's going to be a question mark. But I do think this Angels team makes the playoffs, gets that number 6 seed in the playoffs because of the additions they made in the offseason. And if Mike Trout can stay healthy, I think they got a really – that's an if, because we've seen what's happened the last 2 years. If he stays healthy, I think the Angels sneak in and get one of those wild card spots.
Yeah, actually, I took them to get the wild card. Because you go back to last year, they got out to a really hot start, and then it was like Trout and Ohtani got hurt, and they just fell off the they just fell off, and they really struggled, from June on. And, I think if they could stay healthy, I think the Angels get back to the playoffs this year, and they have to try to keep any hope of keeping Ohtani. If they want to pay him, you got to try to show them like, hey, we could kind of stick around and be a, get to the playoffs. And, I'm happy Phil Nevin gets a shot as a manager. I know he's more of an old school guy, so we'll see that happens. But yeah, they were bottom 10 last year in runs scored. And with that offense, Brandon Drury coming over too, had a really nice year. I think that helps. Yeah, Gio, love Gio. If that team could stay on the field like an Anthony Rendon, who's only played 105 games, the last 2 years, like if he's another one that could stay healthy, yeah, that Angel team should be able to put up a lot of runs, and their rotation's much better than it was a couple years ago.
Absolutely. Now we'll talk about a team that has improved their rotation. That has been the Texas Rangers. Went out and got Jacob deGrom, went out and got Nathan Eovaldi, went out and got Andrew Heaney. They've definitely improved their rotation. I don't mind their lineup. I think their top four are really good. I think Lowe, I think Seager, Simeon, and Garcia. I think they got a really good lineup. The question mark, though, is the bullpen. I think that's a little bit of a question mark, and the depth of that lineup, and deGrom staying healthy. That's the big question. deGrom staying healthy, and because he's only had 24 starts in the last 2 years, and that was a big reason why the Mets didn't re-sign him. That's why I think the Rangers will be improved. I think they might be in a playoff race until maybe, late July, early August, but I think they fade late in the season because of deGrom's health, lack of depth in the lineup, and their bullpen. I think the Rangers finish in fourth, but I do think they are an improved team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Chris Young's done a great job as the GM. I like how this team's going out and spending, trying to get competitive. I think it's great. Marcus Semien, I know he started to turn the corner late, but he got off to such a slow start, which I think hurt. Josh Jung, who is one of their top prospects, playing over at third this year. I think they're hoping he can kind of have a nice year for him. Martin Perez had an awesome season, but can you really expect him to kind of repeat an under 3 ERA? I think it's tough. But yeah, I think the bullpen's kind of the thing that's going to hurt them this year. I think they're going to struggle in that one. And Bruce Bochy's been out of the game for a couple of years. How does he kind of make it? Because it's, and baseball is kind of different. I know he's a little bit more of an old school guy. He's one of the best, when he was a Giant. So we'll kind of see how he does. But he's much better than Chris Woodward. That guy was a disaster.
Absolutely. Now to wrap up the AL West, we got the A's, and their A's are pretty much a AAA team. And that's the problem with baseball. A team like the A's is a problem. Is one of the big problems with Major League Baseball.
Yeah, they are. Again, I know they're trying to move to Vegas. I don't know if this is part of the plan to be as bad as you can, but yeah, this team, they may get 60 wins, but I feel so bad for that city. I just do. I know there's some hardcore A fans, but man, it's tough to go watch that team play. It's a AAA team.
Alrighty, moving on to the NL East and the Atlanta Braves. Even though they lost to the Phillies in the playoffs last year, I got them winning the division. I trust their rotation with I trust their rotation with Wright, with Strider and Fried. I really like their offense. I think Acuna is going to have a bounce back year. Olsen and Riley, I think, continue to have great years. They added Murphy, who's a pretty good catcher. Sean Murphy from the A's, who's a pretty good catcher. And I think Ozzie Albies has a good year too. I think this team wins the division because of their offense. I like their pitching, and I like their bullpen as well. I don't know if their bullpen will be as good losing Kelly Jansen, but I do think the Braves right now are the best with the injuries the Mets and Phillies have. I think they are going to win the AL. I think they're going to win the AL East for the 6th consecutive season.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they win this thing again. I like Acuna. Acuna and Avial's back in that lineup. I think Acuna could have like a 50-50 year, stolen base. I think he's the guy who can steal some bases. And again, when he's been in that lineup, he's been a major force. So I feel like there could be kind of a big year there for Ronald Acuna. I like bringing Sean Murphy. He's one of the better catchers in the sport. Young guy still as well. I think the team that won 100 games last year, they got beat by the Phillies, but the Braves, whenever they need a guy called up from AAA, they produce. Michael Harris, Eddie Rosario, both guys could at the bottom of the lineup hit 30 home runs each. So I just think there's so much depth to that Braves team, and I love the way they do business. They lock up their guys early on, and they pretty much are getting discounts, and it allows them to kind of do all this kind of stuff. And they're getting Acuna for like 10, 11, $12 million, something like that. Like it's cheap, something like that. So yeah, I think the Atlanta is going to win it division yet again.
We will now go on to the Mets, who still have high expectations this year, going out and signing Justin Verlander. They got Max Scherzer. They got a pitcher from Japan. Their offense is obviously really good with Alonso, with Lindor. This team won over 100 games last year. They did lose in the first round to the Padres, but I think with this lineup with Alonso, Lindor, Nimmo, Vogelbach, and McNeil, and this rotation, and I know the closer is a loss. Edwin Diaz is going to be a big loss, but I do think David Robertson could do the job. I do think the Mets get back to the playoffs. They finish in second and get one of the wild card spots.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they do get back to the wild card. Losing Diaz is huge. They got Robertson. They got Adam Ottavino, who could lock it down. until maybe you go out and you find a closer in July. I think that's possible. I think Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor in the middle of that lineup. Lindor had a much better year. Looked like he finally kind of settled in New York last year, which is huge for them. Yeah, you lost to Grom, but you bring in Verlander and Scherzer. And both those guys are really good. Both of them have been pretty durable over the years, but like at their age, can you expect them to get 30 starts each? I think it's a little bit, I think that may be hard to ask, but with those two, it wouldn't shock me. But I think this Mets team has a chance to get back to the Fall Classic. They got the roster, they got the starting pitching to do it, and especially with Verlander and Scherzer, you could have those guys going game 1 and game 2. Does give you an edge.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Now going to the defending National League champion Philadelphia Phillies. Here's the thing with the Phillies. Thank God they signed Trey Turner because their lineup would be in huge trouble with looks like Hoskins is going to be out for the year, with Harper out until the All-Star break. The fact they signed Trey Turner, that is big. You put him in that lineup with Realmuto and Castellanos. That was that saved them that they signed Trey Turner there. I do think they have really good starting pitching with Nola, with Wheeler, and with Walker. They added Walker. That was a good pickup. The concern for me is their bullpen, and I think they're going to fall behind. I don't think they're winning the NL East with Harper and Hoskins out, and that's why they're going to get into this wild card. They're going to get into the first round again. We remember last year when in the first round against the Cardinals, they were down 2-0 going into that game, and they did make that comeback, but they ended it. But I think you can't rely on being the number 6 seed again and getting to the World Series. So I think the Phillies do get to the playoffs, but I do not think they return to the World Series, and I think they finish 3rd in the NL East.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they finish 3rd. They'll find a way to get back to the playoffs. But yeah, I think losing Hopkins huge. Having Harper out for a couple months it's tough. And Trey Turner is a huge pickup. And again, he had an awesome World Baseball Classic. So I expect him coming out of the gates, ready to go. The way he kind of saw the ball in that tournament. So yeah, I think the Phillies with that rotation, the contract year for Nola, it doesn't seem like they're gonna get anything done between now and the deadline to kind of sign a long-term extension. But yeah, I think the bullpen, who did kind of figure it out towards the end of during the playoffs, they were manageable, but yeah, it's tough, I think, to ask of that again. Does totally hurt to lose Hopkins, but again, I think a team that finds a way to get back to the playoffs. But yeah, I'd be very surprised to see this team get back to the World Series.
And then we wrap up the other 2 teams in the NL East, and we start with the Marlins. And again, this team, I like Alcantara, I like Chisholm, but this team is going to struggle. I would be surprised if they win 75 games this year. And the Nationals, just like I said with the A's, that's just the problem with Major League Baseball. That's just a team that's completely not trying, and a team that really doesn't care about this season.
Yeah, the Marlins, they lost 40 games last year by 1 run. You could see someone that maybe flip, but yeah, the lineup's not great. I love the rotation. They're going to be in a lot of games, but can their offense be able to get them over the hump? I just don't know. There's not a ton of kind of potential, there's not a ton in that lineup. They kind of signed a couple free agents that are, they have decent years. Maybe they kind of battle to try to get 75, maybe 81, but that's pushing it. Yeah, it's a team, I think, they just need to get some bats in that lineup. And again, they'd be a team that could battle for a wild card spot. And then with the Nationals, yeah, they're just not even. They're never trying. I know they got a lot of young talent, that potentially young talent on that team. Maybe if they all come together, but you got no Strasburg again in the late May. It's just you kind of forget that he's even on the roster.
Exactly. So. Since the 19 World Series, you forget that Steven Strasburg even plays, and you forget Patrick Corbin even plays on that team, and he's their best pitcher because he's been such a disaster since 2019.
Yeah. Again, the Yankees avoided that one. I wanted Corbin, but it's a good thing that they ended up going to Washington because they definitely that would have been ugly.
They definitely did. So now moving on to the NL Central, and we'll start with the Cardinals. I think this team repeats. I think this team wins the NL Central again. I like their pitching with Michaelos, Flaherty, and our guy Jordan Montgomery. I think their offense. They added Wilson Contreras, obviously Arenado and Goldschmidt, one of the best 3-4 combinations in the game. And then their bullpen is a little bit of a question mark. We remember last year that's why they didn't advance, was because their bullpen had a 2-0 lead in that game against the Phillies. But I think this team is good enough to win a weak NL Central. That's why I have them winning this division.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, last go around for Adam Wainwright. I know he'll miss the beginning of the year, but I think bringing Wilson Contreras to kind of fill the shoes of Yadier Molina, I think it's a good pickup for him. And yeah, Goldie and Arenado are two of the best infielders in the sport. The outfield, Tyler O'Neill, Dylan Carlson, they got some potential younger guys. I like that Cardinals lineup. But yeah, the bullpen's a little bit of the question mark, and that, as you mentioned, held them back last year in the playoffs against the Phillies. Might hold them back again, but yeah, it's a good rotation. I could see Arenado get his first MVP this year. He's been that good, and I think he deserves one. They have a big year. I could see him getting one, but yeah, I think the Cardinals finish first in that division yet again.
Moving on to the Brewers. I mean, the thing is I love their rotation. I think Corbin Burns is probably the best pitcher in the game. I like Woodruff. I like Peralta. I like Lauer. I really like this rotation, but the problem is the other parts of this team. The offense is not that good. Yeah, people want to talk about Christian Yelich. Christian Yelich hasn't been great in 4 years. I mean, I think Adames and Tellez had pretty good years last year, but that's not enough for that offense. Like, that offense is in the middle of the pack. And the bullpen, they traded Josh Hader last year. I didn't like that move when they were competing for a playoff spot. So I think this team misses finishes in second, but they missed the playoffs because of their lack of offense and their bullpen being questionable.
Yeah, it'll be interesting what they do, because if a lot of those pitchers now got 2 years of control left. So like, you could kind of see a couple of them, like the Hader situation last year you just mentioned. Maybe
I mean, you could see a low market team get rid of one of those pitchers if they're in it, but not really in it. They can get rid of one of those pitchers at the trade deadline. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, and I think that could hurt the Brewers. But yeah, core guys, I think, that could be kind of their last kind of run here. So maybe they could kind of, I think, stick with it. But I think it'll be tough. And yeah, Yelich has been down years. I know the back's kind of been a big part of it. But yeah, like out of that bullpen, outside of Devin Williams, who do you really trust? That rotation's really good. I think it's, can their lineup keep in it? Luke Voigt, can he kind of do what he did a couple years ago with the Yankees? That lineup isn't great. And I think it's another one like the Marlins where it's going to kind of hold them back.
All right, we look at the rest of the NL Central. We'll start with the Cubs. The Cubs, the thing about the Cubs is I don't think they're going to be a playoff team this year, but they're trending in the right direction. I like them going out and getting Dansby Swanson. They got Cody Bellinger. I think they're trying to trend in the right direction. I think this is an 80, 81 win team. I think this team could finish 500. I do like what the Cubs are doing, but I think they missed the playoffs. And again, the last two teams is the problem with baseball. These teams do not try to win. I feel bad for a guy like O'Neal Cruz. The only reason to turn a Pirates game on, if it wasn't for O'Neal Cruz, I would not watch a Pirates game all year. I am excited to watch O'Neal Cruz play. I know he's on a terrible team, but I am excited to watch O'Neal Cruz play. And the Reds, again, just like the A's, they're a AAA team.
Yeah, it's bad. The Cubs. Yeah, the Cubs, I think 1 year away, and that team could be a wildcard team. I think they're getting close. Yeah, Swanson's a good one. Bellinger, James Tyone, who pitched pretty well last year at the Yankees. Hopefully he could stay healthy, knows that division pretty well. The Cubs, just 1 year away, I feel like, and they'll be kind of back. They're going in the right direction. The rebuild looks like it's kind of coming, almost there, almost complete. And, I think next year's a year for the Cubs. So kind of look for the playoffs. And yeah, I got Pittsburgh finishing fourth. I like the lineup I like the young core that they have in that lineup. I don't know how much longer Brian Reynolds is going to be there, but yeah, it's a pitching staff. It's, I think Rich Hill may be the open day starter,
that's crazy. That's like a 40-year-old guy starting on opening day. That's a problem. That's a problem with ownership there.
Yeah, it's not good. And I feel bad for that because it's a beautiful ballpark. It just, they drew when they're, a couple years ago when they were good, but who's going to show up in the middle of, to watch that team? And yeah, the Reds, that's another city that it seems like they love baseball. And yeah, it's too bad that team is so bad. They can't start out worse than 3-22 though, like they did last year. Like there's no way they could start out that bad. And they also used 66 different players last year because they had a bunch on the IL. So the Reds are a long way away, and I haven't finishing fifth in that division.
Oh, you got it. You definitely have to. So we'll move on to the NL West, and the team that we got to talk about first, the team I think that has overtaken the Dodgers as the team in the division. That is the Padres. That lineup with Machado, they got Soto, the Cronenworth. They're going to get Tatis back. That lineup is loaded. That lineup is really good. Their pitching staff with Darvish and then Joe Musgrove in that rotation. I think that rotation is really, really good. And then the closer, Josh Hader, which obviously he should have been in at the end of that game facing Bryce Harper last year. That was ridiculous. Bad move by Bob Melvin. And if Melvin was in a bigger market like New York, he would have gotten destroyed for that move. But I love this Padres team. I really, really do. I think, with Snell, Musgrove, Darvish, Michael Wacha, they added too. And in the bullpen, you got Josh Hader. I think this team wins the National League West. I think the Dodgers are taking a step back. I think the Padres win the division.
I'm with you too. I like the Padres. I like that team. I like bringing in Xander Bogaerts. I think that's huge. Again, the big expectations. The first time they made the NLCS last year, first time in 24 years. You'll get Tatis back. It's sometime in May. I know it's been like a year and a half, but that's a guy, if he could sound like he's going to play the outfield, like that's a guy in that you can add that middle of that lineup who could stay healthy. Just adds another weapon. Juan Soto's going to be a lot more comfortable. I feel like now having kind of a little bit of time under his belt there. Machado, they got something done with him. Yeah, that lineup, they got so much talent in that lineup that it's going to be tough to kind of keep them down, a couple nights in a row. And, I see that team kind of with you. I think, they will overtake they'll overtake the Dodgers in that division this year.
Yes, and now we'll talk about the Dodgers. And if you look at the Dodgers going into this season, no Trey Turner, no Justin Turner, no Cody Bellinger. They're really cutting back. They're cutting back. I think the Dodgers, I think they'll be good. I think they'll be a playoff team because I trust Dave Roberts and I trust that organization. I think they'll get in the playoffs, but I think they'll just like the Phillies. I think they'll be a wild card. I think the Phillies might even be better than them. I think they sneak into that last spot in the playoffs. I think this is a down year for the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers are saving up to try to get Ohtani. I wouldn't be surprised if the Angels have another bad year if Ohtani's playing for the Dodgers next year, because I think the Dodgers are going to throw a ton of money out at Ohtani. But for the Dodgers this year, I think it's going to be a year where they're good, but not as good as they've been. I think they make the playoffs, but I don't think they get past the first round. And I think they finish second in the NL West.
Yeah, I'm with you. I get Dodgers finishing second as well. I still, I think losing Gavin Lux, torn ACL, I think that's going to hurt. Will Smith had a career high 87 RBIs. He's been great behind the plate. But yeah, I feel like they're kind of relying on some younger guys that are unproven so far. And again, a couple of them I think could be really good, but time will tell for him. Freddie Freeman, I think, is going to have a better, I know he had 100 RBIs last year, but it took him a little bit there to kind of get settled in with the Dodgers. There's a lot kind of behind the scenes about kind of the stuff with the Braves and all that I think may affect him a little bit. But yeah, I think the Dodgers still have a really good roster. But just a couple guys, I feel like, they're just unproven. You won't have Walker Buehler to probably September, but you could add that guy back for the stretch run. It's huge. Julio Urias has been really good. You still got Clayton Kershaw, but I think it's a second place finish for the Dodgers this year.
Absolutely. And to wrap up the NL West, was there a team at a worse offseason than the San Francisco Giants? I mean, they thought they had Carlos Correa. They thought they might have had Aaron Judge. That fell through. They thought they had Carlos Correa in the bag. That fell through. It was a disastrous offseason for the Giants, and I think this team isn't winning more than 80 games this year. I think they're not going to be a contender to make the playoffs. That was just a disastrous offseason for the Giants. Looking at the Diamondbacks, I mean, Chris Walker's a good player. I like Gallen as a starter, but I don't see that team competing. And the Rockies, I like CJ Cron, but outside of that, the Rockies aren't as bad as the Reds, Nationals, or A's, but they're pretty bad.
Yeah, they're bad. And with the Giants, they summed it up. They've had a rough offseason. Again, they did try to go out and spend and try to get back in contention, and just some bad luck there. They haven't had a guy that's hit 30 home runs in Barry Bonds in 2004. I couldn't believe when I read that stat.
They have won 3 World Series though because of their pitching.
Yeah, they did.
And their bullpen.
They did. Yeah, their bullpen, their starting pitching. Bumgarner was nasty back then. But yeah, I just think for the Giants it's been tough. Maybe next year, but yeah, I think it's Giants to be a rough year for Arizona. Yeah, I think that this is another team that maybe the rules can kind of help benefit them. They're a team that they got a lot of young guys that are, could steal some bases. Maybe that helps them out. It kind of maybe they find a way to win 70, 75 games. But Corbin Carroll's one of the favorites to win the National League Rookie of the Year. They got some nice young pieces. But yeah, Arizona got it finishing fourth, and yeah, Colorado, they've already lost a couple guys. Season ender or pretty much kind of be out majority of the season. Chris Bryant was in and out of the lineup. Ezekiel Tovar, I liked him last year in Hartford. Again, maybe kind of come on, be a factor in that lineup. But yeah, the Rockies right now, not in good shape, and yeah, I got him finishing fifth in that division.
All righty, so now we're going to go to our awards, and we're going to start with our AL MVP picks. And I'm going to go with Shohei Ohtani. I think Ohtani wins it this year. And I think the biggest reason why is he has a good year on the mound. And at the plate, he has an even better year because now he has more protection in that lineup with Mike Trout, with Hunter Renfroe, with Gio Urshela. You never know about Anthony Rendon, but I think he has more protection in that lineup. And that's why my pick is Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Otani's going to get it. I just, yeah, he'll be good on the mound. He's gonna, he's going to have some big at bats, and he's going to do well. And yeah, I just think Otani is just, again, such a special player. And yeah, you mentioned the protection he's going to have this year is going to help him out. He's going to see some better pitches, or some of the guys behind him are see some better pitches or in front of him, and maybe he knocks in a couple more runs this year. So yeah, I think Otani is going to win MVP.
NL MVP, I'm going with Juan Soto. I like the protection, again, because of protection in the lineup. I like the protection with Machado. I like the protect now with Tatis being back, with Cronenworth. I like the protection in the lineup. That's why I'm going with Juan Soto as the NL MVP.
I'm going to go with Nolan Arenado. I think he's been so close. Yeah, thanks. I think he's been so close over the last couple of years. I think he finally breaks through and gets one. I think because the Cardinals won the division, he's got Goldie there. Maybe Dylan Carlson's in the middle of that lineup. Like, I think there's some guys he does have a little bit of protection in that lineup, but I think Arenado is going to get it. He's won what? I think a bunch of Gold Gloves. I think he finally gets one. I think he deserves it. I think this is the year for him.
Alrighty, AL Cy Young. I'm going to go with the sleeper candidate. I'm going to go with not Jacob deGrom, not Garrett Cole. I'm going to go with Alex Manoah of the Blue Jays. I think he has a really good year for the Blue Jays, and he leads them to an American League East championship.
I'm with you on that one too. I really like Manoah. He was really good last year. He finished third last year in the Cy Young voting. He's been awesome so far. He's got good control. Batter's only hit just over 200. It was like 202 they batted against him last year. So I'm with you. I really like Alex Manoah. He's getting the open day start. I think Toronto could be the second best team in the American League. And I think he's a big reason why out of that rotation. So I'm with you. I think Alex Manoah could win that award this year.
NL Cy Young, I'm going with Corbin Burns. I think he's the best pitcher in baseball. He's absolutely phenomenal. The only reason he had 12 wins last year because his offense wasn't that good. I'm going with Corbin Burns to win the Cy Young in the NL.
I'm going with another sleeper out of this one. I'm going with Spencer Strider out of Atlanta.
That's a good one.
He had such a good year, broke on the scene as a rookie. Michael, he would have won Rookie of the Year, but Michael Harrison, his teammate, was just a little bit better than him. I think Spencer Strider in the middle of that rotation, I think with a full year, I think the Braves have the potential to finish first, second in the National League, and I think Strider kind of could have another really good year and win the Cy Young.
Absolutely. So AL Rookie of the Year, I'm going to go with a guy in the AL East. I'm going to go with Gunnar Henderson. I think Gunnar Henderson has a big year with the Orioles. I think Rushman's going to be really good, and I think Bolin's going to have a bounce back year. And we all know Santander and Mountcastle are really good. So I think he's going to have Gunnar Henderson for the Orioles, third baseman. I think he's going to be my AL Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I got the same pick. He got called up late in the year, and after October 31st, he led the league in best hard hit rate, in the league the last month of the year. So, shows me he's been able to kind of put the ball in play, make good contact. I think Gunnar Henderson with that Orioles team, I think they have a good year, and I think, they hang around maybe, for a wild card spot, and Gunnar Henderson's a big reason why in the middle of that lineup.
All righty. NL Rookie of the Year. I am going to go with Jordan Walker of the St. Louis Cardinals. I think, again, he's going to have protection in that lineup with Arenado and Goldschmidt, and then Wilson Contreras. I like Jordan Walker as my NL Rookie of the Year.
I'm going Corbin Carroll. Again, he already got an 8-year, $111 million. The Diamondbacks already locked him up, which is a good thing. I think he's a guy who can steal some bases. He's a really good outfielder as well. I think he's going to have a kind of big role for the Diamondbacks and a team that's still kind of rebuilding, trying to get back, kind of try to hang around maybe in another year or two with the Padres and Dodgers, and I think Corbin Carroll, big cornerstone piece here for the Diamondbacks to hopefully kind of turn it around in the National League.
All righty, we'll wrap up talking about giving our World Series pick, and mine is pretty obvious. Winning it, I got the Houston Astros. They have been the team in Major League Baseball since 2017. I think, yes, they're going to have Altuve out, but he'll be back in a couple months. Their rotation is really, really good with Framber Valdez and Javier at the top of the rotation. Their bullpen is outstanding. I'm going with the Astros to win their third World Series in 7 years. And who I have them playing, I got them playing the San Diego Padres. I think this is the year for the Padres. I think I like the rotation with Snell, with Darvish and with Musgrove. Really like their lineup, and I think their bullpen with Hader, and I think Melvin's going to have Hader in the game when it matters this year. So I got the Astros beating the Padres in the World Series.
Yeah, I got the Padres as well, but I got them winning it. I think they knock out the Blue Jays.
Oh wow, I got the Blue Jays in it. Wow.
Yeah, I like that young team. I like the rotation. I like what they got in the bullpen. Soto, again, we've already seen what he's done on the big stage. And the Padres lineup, the rotation they have, I think they find a way to win the National League. I think, again, Bob Melvin finally gets a ring again. He did a heck of a job in Oakland for all those years. I think this team makes a run. I think Toronto with that young lineup, we mentioned we're both on Alex Manoah to win the Cy Young. I think he's going to have an awesome year. Kevin Gausman, too, pitched really well last year. Chris Bassett is a nice addition. I think that bullpen is good enough, and I just think that lineup's so deep. Alejandro Kirk's really good player. Hopefully George Springer could stay healthy this year. And I have the I got the Padres knocking off the Toronto Blue Jays in the World Series.
Yeah, it should be very, very interesting. Should be a really good baseball season, especially with the pitch clock. I think the pitch clock is really, really going to help this season. I think it's going to help the younger. I think these new rules, I know these traditionalists are ripping them and everything, but I do think this is really, really going to help the younger generation get into the game. And for the most part, I think a lot of people like them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I love it. It's going to make these games go by quicker. It drags on. You wait 40 seconds in between pitches. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think these rules really help baseball. The spring training, these games flew. And it's good. And there's going to be hopefully more action with the shift kind of being out of it. So, I think guys, instead of trying to hit it over, maybe, just try to put balls in play. And I think it's going to be awesome. And I think, really excited to kind of see how these new rules play out in the regular season.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's going to wrap it up on Sports Talk with R&J. For Justin Alfio, I'm Steve Risser. We'll be back next week recapping the Final Four, talking Yankees and Red Sox, and talking any NFL news that comes our way. Have a great weekend, everyone, and go Huskies.
Jones on first down, wide open, it's Barkley. And Saquon Barkley will take it into the end zone.
Your best ability is his availability. Saquon Barkley, he's great when he's on the field, but the problem is since 2018, he hasn't been healthy for this team.
Look at this. They lob it to him. He taps it in off the glass. How about that?
Porter Moser, I think right now is the best coach of college basketball, hands down.
Fins 2 for 3. He's done his part.
Pitch is drilled to deep right field toward the pole, and it is gone.
They don't mind not being what they were in the 90s as the best organization in baseball, because the Yankees aren't even close to the best organization in baseball.
You're trying to be the Rays, and the Rays do this for a reason. You're the Yankees.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.